Today on the table, we have a Beretta 92F. Now this is not a Beretta 92FS, this is just an F. And so Beretta made the Model 92 starting in 1975, but the 92F didn't come out until 1984, because before that it was an SB, and then it became the SB-F, and that's what this is. But it's on the pistol itself here. You can see it actually just says 92F right there. You can get it in the, right there in the picture. You can see 92F. So this is actually the so they made these from 1984 until about 1990 or so. Not for very long because of a potential failure, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But this was basically the 1980s action hero pistol. So in Lethal Weapon, Mel Gibson carried one of these, and then also in Die Hard, Bruce Willis carried one. So he had one duct taped to his back when he was, walking through the tower, the Nakamine Tower. And there's a lot of others, like Leon had one. The police chief in Beverly Hills Cop, he carried a 92F as well. And if you look, there's a lot of other, characters back in the 80s and the very early 90s that had these until they started carrying the 92FS. So it's just a really cool history in that regards. But it is a standard, just it's like a painted black pistol, but it has a 15-round magazine. These came with a 15-round magazine, as you can see here. And then I guess what we can do too before we go a little further is we can just make sure there's safety check. It's really easy to see on a Beretta because the barrel's right at the top. And then you can see here, so the magazines, it comes with two 15-round mags, or it did back in the day. It took me a while to actually find this one because a lot of them were pretty worn, and a lot of people didn't really keep theirs because of the potential failure issues. But the failure problem was actually not a Beretta problem. It was actually a US government problem, or a NATO problem. So what happened was that they used this pistol to design the M9, which is basically the exact same thing. If you take a Beretta 92FS and a Beretta M9, it's the same thing. There's almost zero difference whatsoever. But with this 92F and with the 92FS, what happened was they were testing these 92Fs, the government was, and they were shooting a whole bunch of rounds through them. And they had problems with the slides shooting off the back. And the reason for that was they thought it was Beretta's fault. So then Beretta came back with the 92FS, and the S on the FS stands for safety, or security is what they will say. It's security or safety. And what they did was they actually added a hammer pin block that would, when the pistol's under stress, it would prevent the slide from sliding off the back. Now, after further research, obviously on Beretta's side, and doing more research into what the US government was doing when they were shooting him, they actually found out that there was no issue with the pistol whatsoever. The government was using rounds that were pressured too high for its specs, and that was what was causing it to actually shoot off the back. So it was actually an ammo issue and not anything to do with the design. So it's just kind of a cool thing to know that they didn't actually make any errors. It was the US government that messed up the ammo, and that was where they found their issue, but it had nothing to do with the pistol itself. But it is pretty cool. I found another one of these, and I think I might get one just because they aren't very common, because the 92FS is the most common pistol because they still make that, and they don't make these anymore. So it's just a fun thing to have because they aren't, again, not as common. And when I was looking for them, there was a few beat up ones. There was even some rust even on these plastic grips, or just a rusty marks on them, or the screws were rusted out a little bit. They were just really beat up, and I looked for a while and I was able to find this one in fantastic condition. And the cool thing is, this is actually made in Italy, so you can see her here. I mean, it's like the Ghosts. These are made in Italy compared to the more modern ones that are here made in the US. So just let me know if you have a 92F. It'd be kind of cool, or what your favorite 80s movie is that they use this pistol in. And let me know about that in the comments. And thanks for watching.